learning how to build a small dome radar cable for plugging into the PCRP 205. I want to start off with the tools that we should assemble before you get started. I'll start with a utility knife for cutting the shield, some wire strippers in the having range of like 16 to 26 gauge wire is good for stripping the wires. Dikes or snips for small cleanup work. DB25 for male, and then pins should have come with the PCRP 205A, and also back shell should have come with that also. A pin insertion extraction tool. These are worth their weight in gold. I think this one's made out of steel instead of the standard brass, which is really nice. Most decent electronic stores should have these. They're a couple bucks. A number 1 Phillips head screwdriver, a crimp for these pins, a 1000 watt, actually this is a 1300 watt hot air heat gun. I don't run this guy at its hottest setting. And then some solder sleeves, which get used with the heat gun. This is for the outer shield for the cable, and this is used for the coax. Okay, when the cable comes from you out straight out of the box, it has this connector on it, which goes to the regular Furno display, but you don't have one of those, so you cut it. It cuts pretty easily. Just use a pair of snips and just like that. So that's how you get that guy off. And I'll have some length on it just for later exercises. So, and this is what we're going to be working with. It's nice and narrow, so you can fit it through whatever you want. Cut it, snake it through, and cut it to length. But give yourself some slack, because depending on how things go, you might need to cut it off and start over again. So there's the little strings in here, wires, strings. So we'll clean up the strings a little bit. And this is the coax, and this is the shielding. Okay, so let's clean out these. So, quick anatomy lesson for this. This outer part goes to the outside of the coax, and this the smaller ring goes to the inner part of the coax. Coax has an inner part and an outer part, so you need to keep them separate and not shorted. And then the other thing is, need to have these are all going to go into a DV connector. So, and the wires go, you know, into the connector for a little bit. So, so I need some space between. So I need to try and get this as far back as we can get it in order to have wires to go into there. So, get a picture of that. Okay, so that's going to end up about there. The tip's going to end up about there. So trim it to length. Okay. So this step we're going to expose the shield on the coax. So we're going to want copper from here on, so just try and score it. So now we only want the shield part to only go that far. So we can do this. I like to take about 16 gauge. I think will work pretty good. And measure, kind of see how far that is. Cut it right about there. Just need to get most of it off. Okay, and then go back, and so that's most of it, and go back with your snips and clean it up. And now we just need to take the tip off. Let's see here. We'll start at 18 gauge and go down. And I'm going about halfway. So there, you definitely want some plastic exposed, plastic there, so that way that and the center conductor don't touch. So we got the outer plastic, we got the coax shield, we got the center insulator, and then the center conductor. And then that will, let's get a picture like that. And then that just goes in. So for this part, you need to make sure that you don't pull on these. That's why I'm just going to rest them, so that way if I'm wiggling back and forth, it don't pull out. Because when it gets hot, this plastic part gets very soft, and these wires could pull out. And so you see how it melted on that side, but not really so much on that side. So that looks good. Give this a little more heat. Here. Another thing to do is if it gets overheated, it can short out, and then you've got to cut it off and start over. So let me go get a multimeter really quick and do a test. let's do the shield now. So pretty much it's going to end up being, you know, all the motor power, the whites with the stripes are going to be on one side, and most of the colors are going to be on the other. So, and then the shield's going to end up in the center. So let's just do that now. Okay. Next up is putting the pins on. So, got this and that. And I just like to so there should be about 30 of these things, with pins included with the PCRP. So, quick anatomy lesson on these things. There's the part on this part connects to crunches to the conductor, and then the part closest to the end crunches to the insulation. So when you're stripping the wires, you want to strip it back that far. Or, so quick picture of that. So I think so. Then when you're stripping, just start with the largest gauge and then go down. So I want this to go on there. Just a little. Okay, 16 gauge was too big. 18, okay, 18 was good. A little bit more. Okay. So when I crimp it, it'll go right like that, and have need to trim back just a little here. Now this is the crimper I use. It's got spots for 20 to 24 gauge, which is what we're using. So this goes in there, and it's set up like that. And then fold all the wires that you're not crimping right now back so they stay safe. And that's a good crimp. It's on the insulation, and then the copper's exposed. You know, went all the way through. Okay, so that's the first one, and it's pretty much repeat.